And joining us now to discuss President Trump's tariff strategy and how it relates to China is Bart Marcois, former presidential campaign advisor and former U.S. diplomat. Bart, thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you again. Now, markets rallied today after Trump announced the 90-day pause on most countries while hiking tariffs on China even higher. How are you reading Trump's strategy here? Was the goal all along to isolate China?
I think the goal now is to isolate China, but I don't think that was the goal all along. The goal that here's the secret about Donald Trump. I've heard people saying, aha, see how clever he is? It's three-dimensional chess. This is what he was after the whole time. All those other tariffs, those were just to set things up, to set up China for a fall. No, Donald Trump does exactly what he says he's going to do. When he says, I want to do this, that's what he wants to do. His goal all along was to make trade more fair for the United States. That was his goal. China is resisting. And so now his goal is to make an example of China. And he can't do it to the whole world at once. Nobody can do that, not even America. And so he's saying to everybody, okay, 90 days, 10%, just to sort of, get some income and to even the trade barriers and to even the relationship, even out the playing field. But this is all about making sure that there is a new understanding about how world trade works.
Now, in the opposite sense of China, we see Japan and South Korea lining up to negotiate. Taiwan and Vietnam have also signaled moves to cooperate. In terms of Vietnam, though, China has used countries in the region like Vietnam and Cambodia to skirt around trade rules with the U.S. in the past. Do you see these countries choosing to work with the U.S. while squeezing China out? What will that kind of economic landscape look like?
Boy, that's going to be hard for a country like Vietnam or Cambodia. They're next door neighbors. They're small countries. China has enormous influence on them. However, they are the go-to alternative for a lot of American products that are currently manufactured in China, especially Vietnam, and they would have to get some kind of security guarantee, not a military one, but some kind of confidence that we will take care of them. The, what's they will have to pursue their interests. That's what Trump is really doing here. He's looking at the world trading system and says, okay, this was sold to us as a rules-based order of trading. Nobody but us has been obeying the rules. It's like you're playing football, and every time you set the ball down, the other team grabs it and runs off and scores a goal. And so Trump is saying, I'm not letting go of the ball anymore. It's not a rules-based system. Every country has to look out for its own interests. We're looking out for ours. You countries look out for yours. And China is the big bad wolf in this. China has half of all of the surplus, the trade surplus in the entire world. Half for one country. They're cheating everybody. And Donald Trump is saying, I'm not taking it anymore. How about the rest of you?
Now, on that note, President Trump, of course, is known for his art of the deal approach. Now, as a former diplomat yourself, how are you viewing the way Trump is, say, conducting diplomacy here with a global shakeup?
When I was a diplomat, I saw professional diplomats come in and negotiate things, and then I saw James Baker become Secretary of State. And a lot of people nowadays like to criticize Baker. He did a lot of things that, in retrospect, weren't such great ideas, but he was a very good negotiator. And he came in, and when countries said, we will not back you on the war in Iraq, he said, that's fine. You have your sovereignty. We have ours too. And he cut them off completely from everything, from all foreign aid, from everything, from the Peace Corps, from everything. Said, go ahead, take your sovereignty. But this is what America is going to do. And I realized then the real negotiators, the really top ones, didn't practice on theory and globalization and international relations. They practiced on money. He was a lawyer. He was a commercial lawyer. He and Donald Trump is James Baker, on times a million. The guys who've practiced with money are the ones who really know how to negotiate.
Now, speaking of money, the World Trade Organization says trade between the U.S. and China could drop by 80%. Now, many experts have been calling for the two economies to decouple. How long do you see China lasting before it, say, folds? And what would the new global dynamics post-global reset look like?
It's hard to estimate that. It's hard to predict it. Xi has surrounded himself with the most hardline, most yes men hardliners in the entire Communist Party. And so the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party is saying, you can win this, you can win, and they will dig in their heels. But tariffs are only one of the barriers that Trump can play, only one of the cards he can play. I think next will come, you talk about decoupling. You heard J.D. Vance say yesterday, I think it was, China should not own a single blade of grass in the United States. I think we're going to see, if China doesn't buckle, we're going to see uh, prohibitions on Chinese ownership of farmland, ranch land, factory land, housing developments, shares in stocks in public companies, American technology. Maybe Smithfield Meats will have to be sold. They'll have to divest themselves of the big meat packing companies. We could push China right out, close the Confucius Institutes, shut them down. And that's something that I think Donald Trump and J.D. Vance would like to do as it is. And if China gives them the excuse, all that will do is whip up sentiment, public sentiment to back. That's one of the things that Trump ran on is getting China out of our knickers. They have way too much influence here and in so many other countries around the world.
Major changes for sure. Bart Marcois, thank you as always so much for joining us.
It was my pleasure.